Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at some new Pokemon Go cards. And if I may say so, right at the beginning here, what we've got is a new Charizard card, and one that might actually be good, though it is a Stage 2. And we've got ourselves Dragonite VSTAR, and we've all been waiting for Dragonite VSTAR, so that is rather lovely. We've seen kind of the V on a poster. We've not had a good look at the Pokemon V, I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that. But we do have the Pokemon VSTAR, we do have the Charizard, and stop me if you've heard this one before, we do have a translation from the lovely Antoine Boulet. So let's start off with Dragonite VSTAR. We got 280 HP, which is basically as high as we get for Pokemon VSTAR. I should say that it's been revealed in the Chinese language, and we don't have great pictures because they're off a poster, but that's not the point. We've got them, and that's the main thing. So 280 HP is very high, and do remember that being a dragon Pokemon means we have no weakness here, so that's actually kind of awesome and a huge bonus, and we like that very much. It's not going to be that easy to knock out. In terms of your main attack, what we've got is Water, Lightning, Double Colorless, 250 damage. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. Now here's the thing. Perfect? No. Not even close to perfect, ladies and gentlemen. Not even close. Good? Oh my yes. Because you see, this hits the numbers beautifully. Generally speaking, you need to hit 220 to KO Pokemon V, and you need to hit 280 to KO Pokemon V-Star. So what you're doing here is you're hitting 250, which is easily going to get any of those pesky Pokemon V, but then you're also, you're a choice belt away from being able to KO Pokemon V-Star. And most Pokemon V-Star don't one-hit KO other Pokemon V-Star. Sometimes they do, but a general rule is that they don't. You look at something like Arceus V-Star, you're not getting a one-hit KO on much with Arceus V-Star. It's hitting 200 damage, and most of the time you're using a double turbo energy anyway. It's not ideal, frankly, ladies and gentlemen. It's not ideal. Although, let's be clear, Arceus does not need to be any better than it actually is. Arceus is completely nuts. We know that. So, I'm loving the damage here. The damage is brilliant. You know what I'm not loving? The cost. The cost of this is not brilliant. Water, lightning, 2 colorless energy. No. Seriously, no. I don't like this. I don't really like this very much at all. Because you've got to figure out how to get the energy on. And the fact of the matter is, getting the energy on here is just, it's super awkward. Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen. It's really, really awkward. I mean, just to confirm, you can attack next turn. It's just not the attack you're attacking with. But you've got to get the energy on in order to get the attacking done. And that's a little bit of a problem. And that's where I come down here. I'm just not loving the attack cost. And sure, the water energy can be paid with a Melanie for argument's sake. Yeah. But it's very, very expensive. And then, of course, there's a decent chance you may end up wanting to use double turbo energy in order to actually, get to the energy a little bit faster. And then the problem is, well, hang on a second. I just told you hit the numbers brilliantly. Now, to be fair, for Pokemon V, you're fine. This will take 250 down to 230. And I said you only really need to hit 220. So you're good. But the problem is, with a choice belt and a double turbo, you end up 10 up, you end up at 260, and now you're not getting one-hit KOs on Pokemon V-Star anymore. And that was one of my main selling points of this particular card, and that's why I come down in a little bit of a tizzy here. At some point, maybe we get better energy acceleration, but if you're going to be using 4 energy, then you need some kind of dedicated energy acceleration. Now, of course, there is a fair point to say, well, hang on a second, just use Arceus. That's what everyone else is doing. And it's a fair point. You can just use Arceus. That's what everybody else is doing. But then again, is this going to be your top choice for Arceus? Maybe it is. And if that's where you're going, that's brilliant. But I don't know. What I will say is I actually quite like Dragonite V. Dragonite V's got free energy 250. It does 20 to each of your bench, but it might well be worth it. I just think this is too expensive, and if you're really going down the Arceus route, I think we've got better options. Is the VSTAR power any good? Well, for one colorless energy, you look at the top 12 cards of your deck, you reveal any number of water and lightning energy you find there, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like, shuffling the other cards back into your deck. And clearly, this is how we're supposed to be paying for it. Clearly, this is very much like Arceus, in that you're not saving this VSTAR power, you're evolving up and immediately using it. You evolve, you use the power, boom, you've got the energy, you attack, life is good. And yes, that can work beautifully. It can work beautifully. There's no guarantee this is going to work. And that's kind of my problem. And we've got supporter cards, or at least we've had them in the past, that we've all tried to make use of, and they've not worked well enough. Because we had Morgan. Now, you had to discard Dana, Evelyn, and Nita from your hand, admittedly, but it let you look at the top 12 cards of your deck and attach any number of energy you find to your Pokemon in any way you like. Particularly good here, because that meant that you could actually use this to get special energy on, which is obviously like a brilliant, fantastic thing to do. The problem is, this isn't guaranteed. And if we're using Dragonite, we're kind of going to be relying on this pretty heavily. And if you whiff this, you are done. And that's my problem. We've got a super expensive attack, which I'm not loving. And we've got a VSTAR power, and remember, they are limited to one of any kind during your game, which might hit, and you could hit 8 energy here and power up 2 Dragonite VSTAR and be set for the entire game. Or you could hit 1 or 0 and be done. I'm giving this free Wassies. I think the fact that you can one-hit KO Pokemon VSTAR is a big deal that could end up making this really good. But I'm also fully aware that there are just too many awkward things that could happen. This could fail, and if it fails, it's really not a good card. Yes, it works with Arceus, but you know what? So does everything else. Does this really separate itself from the pack? Maybe, but it's still 4 energy even then. But hey, we've got a new Charizard, and I really like this new Charizard, though it may start looking a little bit like a Blastoise before we're done. You see, what we've got here is 170 HP, which incidentally is extremely high for a Stage 2, that's awesome. And we've got an ability that reads, each basic fire energy attached to your Pokemon provides 2 fire energy. You cannot apply more than one of this ability at a time. I should give a shout out to Blue Days Lee. Essentially, Blue Days Lee translated it from the Chinese language into Japanese, and then the lovely Antoine Boulet translated it from Japanese into English. Either way, we are good. And this is a good ability, and we've seen this ability before. We've seen this ability on a Venusaur, specifically the Venusaur from Shining Legends, which was the Stage 2 that had the ability Jungle Totem. Each basic grass energy attached to your Pokemon provides 2 grass energy. You cannot apply more than 1 Jungle Totem ability at a time. What that means is, in both cases, you cannot have 2 Charizard out and then each of your energy counts as 3. That would be awesome. But there is a phenomenal combo going on here with Magma Basin. Magma Basin, of course, is that new Stadium card that lets you attach a fire energy from your discard pile to one of your benched fire Pokemon. Except now it's 2 energy. So we'll talk about Charizard's attack properly in a moment, but if we look at Charizard's attack, we can see it costs 4 energy, 2 fire, 2 colorless, which looks really awkward, but if Charizard's in play, and if you're using Charizard's attack, Charizard kind of has to be in play, that's the point. Well, actually, what you're doing here is attach for the turn, Magma Basin, boom, 4 energy. That's not shabby, ladies and gentlemen. That's not shabby at all. It's a Stage 2, and we saw Venusaur being a legitimate deck. We saw Venusaur seeing play with Genesect, and that was actually extremely cool. That was a really good deck. It was never a great deck, let's be clear. But it was a fun little deck that saw, I think the polite way to put it is limited success here or there, but it was a legitimate deck. So if we can find some basic Pokemon to fire energy onto here, That's kind of awesome. Also, it was Shining Genesect specifically, and that was actually really kind of cool because Shining Genesect can move energy over to it, so you didn't even need to get Genesect at the right time because you could attach the energy to anything and move it to Shining Genesect later. And maybe this is going to work. Maybe we're going to be able to use this to take some basic fire Pokemon and get them rolling. Could work. Maybe this combos with Charizard VSTAR. And now all of a sudden you're doing gigantic damage. Or maybe it combos with Charizard VMAX. And then you're doing some gigantic damage. Although I'm not loving that you've then got to get your evolved VMAX or VSTAR along with your Stage 2. But it is at least a possibility. Maybe that could work. I'm skeptical as it stands at the moment. I'm not really seeing anything here that's a perfect match. And the thing is, we've actually got a really good attack on Charizard. It's 4 energy, 170, discard all fire energy attached to this Pokemon. But of course, you attach 1 from the discard with Magma Basin, you just find 1 attachment for the turn. And you know, if you've got Magma Basin out, this essentially turns into a single energy attack. The problem is you're not hitting the numbers. 170 gets super weak Pokemon V like Luminion, but that's about as far as we get. And even with a choice bout, you're not getting enough Pokemon V. You're hitting 200. And we want to be hitting 220. It's really important that we hit 220, and we're not hitting 220. And then that's basically where I come down here. I actually really love that we've got a decent attack, but you're just a little bit short. And you are at Stage 2, and I'm sorry, if I'm at Stage 2, I don't want to be a little bit short. If I'm at Stage 2, I want to already be there. I don't want to have to go to any more effort just to get this rolling. And that's basically where I end up coming down with Charizard here. I think there is a lot to like. I think it's a really great ability. But I'm over on PKMN cards looking at all the basic fire Pokemon and fire Pokemon V-Star and all of that. And I'm not seeing a great option here for, like a 4 energy attacker, which is going to rule the format. I think Charizard V-Star and V-Max are probably the best we've got. And maybe that's good enough. Maybe this Stage 2 Charizard will be easy enough to get into play. I kind of hope so, because that would be awesome. I'm giving this between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. I don't think this is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's interesting, and I think it's got a chance, and quite frankly, that's good enough for me. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.